Did you know I was a model for a magazine as a teenager? Although I had a privileged childhood and was a very good leader, I didn't prove to be a very good president. Although awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, I had no accomplishments in my presidency and many failures. I was the worst president to serve in office. Luckily, I had a privileged childhood. I was born on July 14, 1913 in Omaha, Nebraska. I moved in December of 1913 to Grand Rapids, Michigan. My real name was Leslie Lynch King Jr., but I was renamed Gerald Rudolph Ford. My nickname was Jerry, and I had a very quick temper. I was considered to be middle class. I excelled in sports, and I was awarded Best High School Football Player in the state. I also won first prize for Most Popular Senior and won a trip to Washington. Surprisingly, my parents didn't get along. My mom was Dorothy King, and my dad was Leslie King. Leslie and Dorothy decided to divorce because Leslie hit Dorothy and they both argued all the time. Dorothy decided to marry Gerald Rudolph Ford in February 1916. They decided to move in with each other, and now I had 3 stepbrothers. I had several childhood jobs. One of my first jobs was at a local restaurant at age 15. I also decided to work at my stepdad's paint company. Also, when I was younger, I worked at a coffee shop and cleaned up dirty dishes at the local hospital. When I got a little older, I was an assistant coach at Yale for the freshman football team and also coached boxing for 2 months. An interesting job I had was when I accepted a summer job at Yellowstone National Park in 1936. Privileged, I had a very good education. I was an excellent student and was in the top 5% of my junior high class. I went to South High School in Grand Rapids and graduated in 1931. I decided to go to the University of Michigan with a partial scholarship. I graduated in 1935 and was awarded Most Valuable Football Player and Best Grades. After graduating from the University of Michigan, I enrolled at Yale Law School in New Haven, Connecticut. I began classes at Yale in 1938. I graduated from Yale with a law degree in 1941. Because of my good education, I had many jobs before my presidency. I became a lawyer in 1941, and my partner was Philip Bushman. I was also a physical fitness instructor in North Carolina. I then decided to join the Navy and was a junior officer. In 1943, I reported to the USS Monterey and served as the ship's athletic director and gunnery officer. I decided to resign from the Navy in 1945. People called me a joiner, mainly because I volunteered to do many things. I joined the American Legion, Red Cross, National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, and Boy Scouts. I was also a congressman in the House of Representatives from 1947 to 1973, where I helped Richard Nixon run for president. I was also assigned to the Warren Commission, which lasted from 1963 to 1964. I was elected House Minority Leader of the Republicans in 1965, and I helped rebuild the Republicans. Fortunately, I had a successful family of my own. My wife was Betty Ford. We married in Grand Rapids on October 15, 1948. We had 4 children: Michael, John, Stephen, and Susan Elizabeth. Our family got along very well. Unfortunately, I didn't have any accomplishments as president and had a very unusual road to the presidency. Vice President Spiro Agnew had been under investigations and decided to resign on October 10, 1973. The Constitution required a new vice president for Richard Nixon, and I was his nominee. On December 6, 1973, I became vice president for Richard Nixon, and soon after, he was accused of the Watergate scandal. Richard was under many investigations and decided to resign from presidency on August 8, 1974. I was sworn in the next day, August 9, 1974, as the 38th president. I had a very nice life in the White House. I had a very relaxed, easygoing, informal life in the White House. I made my time last and had lots of fun and danced often. One event was we invited 900 guests to the Congressional Christmas Ball. One of the families One of the failures was that I lost to Jimmy Carter when I ran for full-term president. Another failure was I signed a pardon to Richard Nixon, September 1974. Coincidentally, I had a nice life when I retired. I retired with Betty in 1977. We moved to Rancho Mirage, California, near the desert community. I died on December 26, 2006, from heart failure. I was 93 years old when I died. Luckily, I did in my house. I was still busy after I left the White House. Some interesting facts about me is I wrote an autobiography called A Time to Heal. I was considered the most athletic president in office. I was a right-handed sportsman, but ate and wrote with my left. I was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom in August 1999 by President Clinton. Our worst president to serve in office was me, Gerald R. Ford. Even though I had a privileged childhood and was a very good leader, I didn't show that, though, while I was president. I had no accomplishments and many failures. It is very weird that I, such a good leader as a kid, could turn out to be a very bad president.